before that, 47.
Ooh.
And so we asked the question, the NFL average is 40 and a half for a season. And we kind of said, could they be average? Could they be better? They revamped the offensive line. I was the optimist in this. I said, yeah, they could keep it under 40 and a half. That's not looking good.
Willie, they already got 29 over 8 games.
29 through 8.
Yeah.
It looks like it's pacing for worse than even last year, which was bad. It's pacing for worse.
And now that Nicholas is out, Hubbard may not be back
man.
for this game.
So who's going to be your tackle? Dylan Radins and Andre Dillard? Those are your two tackles?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Right there.
And Dylan Radins, we should give Dylan Radins a little bit of love here because he's coming off an ACL. I didn't think the guy would be on the roster this year. I thought he medically wouldn't be.
You're giving out brownie points.
But is Dylan Radins better than Andre Dillard?
I'm looking for some policy. Yeah.
I'm just with you.
It's scary. You guys said over, and it looks like your guys going to be right. So
I don't like being right about that.
Okay, is this a perfect time to experiment with the young kid at tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have no pushback on it, but I'm just saying, is this the perfect time? Two of your starting tackles are hurt. The other one isn't good. And then now you can possibly switch him over to right, put the young guy at left, Levin at guard, but then you got to figure everything. You got to shuffle the whole offensive line.
The only thing that gives me hope, too, is that if Levis can get rid of the ball, he looks like he is going to be a little tougher to sack than Tannehill and definitely Willis. Willis, we know, had a lot of he's been sacked 4 times and he's hardly played, right? So that inflates that
4 times in less than a quarter.
In London, right? So that was that skews it a little bit. So let's give that a little bit of an excuse. Levis has been sacked 6 times in the 2 games, but that was a fierce pass rush, and all of the linemen were getting hurt in that game in Pittsburgh. So the way Levis gets rid of the ball quicker, could that help? Maybe. But getting under 40, that doesn't look realistic. And then finally, our predictions for the season: Caroline 10-7, D-Mase 11-6. Oh boy, I said 9-8, which still is in the ballpark, but we'll see. But I think all of us could be guilty of being a little too optimistic as they sit at 3-5. So let's hope that the second half is better than the first.
You know what they say? You can't go 11-6 without going 3-5.
I guess so.
Better get on a heater, D-Mase.
They do say that. All right, we'll chat with TD coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit could get you $20, $50, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Willie Donick here. Listen up. You've got a ton of equity in your home, and Loan Pronto can help turn that equity into cash to put it to use. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards or pay off personal loans. Start the home improvement project you've been looking for. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. Call right now, 615-499-5780. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards. 615-499-5780 or go online at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
People of all ages can experience spine pain. What hurts the most is what it does to your life, making simple activities feel like an uphill battle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics and their team of specialists aim to get you back to your active and enjoyable life. Let Houston Clinic Orthopedics bring lasting relief if you're suffering from any of the following: spinal stenosis, herniated discs, sciatica, degenerative disc disease, and more. To experience world-class orthopedic care, visit tn.houston.com, where experience matters.
Yo, check this out.
Ah, Pourvu. Imagine a wonderland, vast as the eye can see. We're talking a whopping 10,000 square feet, stocked with wine, spirits, and over 1,500 beers from around the globe. And if that's not enough, they've got you covered with a massive horde of ready-to-guzzle cocktails like High Noon.
Well, saddle up, partner. It's Pourvu, the adult equivalent of a candy store. Open from 9 to 9 Monday through Saturday and from 10 to 6 on Sundays, too. Not leaving your sofa during the next big game? No worries, my jersey-wearing couch potato. You can place your orders at pourvu.us or download their super snazzy app.
Just picture hockey night. He shoots, he scores, we toast.
We're talking about a good old round of tequila shots, of course.
Tequila!
Pourvu has it all. Tequila is always a big hit, just like Uncle Frank at the family parties.
Wine, spirits, beers, mixers, barware, gifts, party supplies, and more.
Curbside pickup at absolutely zero charge, mind you, and home delivery.
Indian Lake Boulevard in Hendersonville, just off Vietnam Vets, exit 7.
Pourvu. It's all Frenchy and fancy, meaning for you.
Score!
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's got a coach
shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Joining us now is TD Teron Davenport, who always joins us on Mondays at 1 o'clock. TD, appreciate you for joining us. Last week on Thursday night, it was a tough loss. It's a tough one to swallow because it felt like that was one that the Titans could have gotten. And it's a loss that felt a little bit easier to swallow given Will Levis and his performance. But the most disappointing thing to me, TD, was the defense. Over the last couple of weeks, I mean, they let Zach Moss run all over them. They let the Pittsburgh Steelers run all over them. What's been going on with the defensive front that we thought had the makings of being elite going into this season?
Well, there's a lot of things that you could put to it, and one of the things that Mike Vrabel said, and it even applies to them not getting any sacks or only 2 QB hits, is guys aren't winning their matchups up front. So that's something that's not happening. You're not seeing that penetration in the backfield like you did earlier in the year, and that's making the running back reroute. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. You look at not setting the edge, and I think Mike Vrabel pointed it out pretty well. You know, there was one run where I think it was Jalen Warren to the left. Rashad Weaver didn't set the edge, and Tremaine Edmonds came in, and he wasn't able to make the tackle, and it probably would have been a different situation if that edge was set. And that's always the basic formula that they'll tell you when the running attack is going well for the opposite team. They're not setting the edge, they're not creating a wall, and they're not swarming and tackling.
What was your evaluation of Will Levis on Thursday night?
I think all things being considered, just the way he's able to get the ball out of his hands, even with people around him, is really good. He had some outstanding throws. That one to Kyle Phillips on the deep outbreaking route was a really good one. He had a good one to Westbrook Akini, too. And then you look at the way he fired that one to DeAndre Hopkins, you know, right after Renegade. They played the Renegade song, and that stadium was going crazy. And that was all just put out, you know, it was like a fire extinguisher. You know, it was put out with that one throw that he made. So I was impressed with it. I mean, obviously there's some that you know, he might have been able to get a little bit better placement on. I don't hold the interception against him. It's 11 seconds left. You're trying to make a play, and that's really what it comes down to.
Hard not to be impressed. Wasn't perfect. Nope. Didn't expect him to be, but it's hard not to be impressed with what we've seen from Will Levis through 2 weeks. What did you make of the play calling on Thursday night, specifically that second to last possession of the second half, when it's about 3.5 minutes left. The end around to Traylon Burks, then you run it up the middle with Derrick Henry, and then running it with Tajay Spears, and then the 4th and 4 throw to Traylon Burks that ultimately got him knocked out of the game. I was very confused about those decisions by Tim Kelly.
Yeah, I didn't like that series. I understand what they were trying to do. I just think, you get into a 2nd and 5, a 2nd and 4 type of situation after that end around the Burks. I think that's when you already know your quarterback, he's playing well. So give him an opportunity to get you that first down and to make the play. They gave the ball to Derrick Henry, and it's funny because in these types of situations, if Derrick Henry doesn't get a touch, everybody's like, oh, how did you not give the ball to Derrick Henry? Because that's exactly what was going on in the Saints game, So it's either way you're going to lose in the court of public opinion. But the play to Tajay Spears on 3rd down, I had an issue with that. The 4th down call, I don't have an issue with that because, frankly, and I put this on Twitter, with the dots and everything, and you trust Traylon Burks to win, but you just need 4 yards, right? And you look at that, and you know how they were bringing the safety down to double DeAndre Hopkins when he's in the slot. Hopkins ran that slant, Okonkwo ran the clear out, and Kyle Phillips was number 1 on that side, and he was open very quickly. And as opposed to going deep like that, get the ball to Phillips, get the first down, live to see another series.
But on plays like that, I don't blame it on and you really try not to put blame anywhere because,
right.
Will Levis sees what he sees. If I'm a quarterback and I got one-on-one, coverage with a big wide receiver who I have faith in, then, 9 times out of 10, that's where the guys are going. They're going to their big play guy. Where's the one-on-one matchup? I want to find it. There it is. Let me exploit it. It just didn't work. So I don't fault necessarily the play call. And it's just a rookie quarterback that, that sees what he sees and he's trusting what he sees. And instead of just getting the 4 yards, he wants to, get the play down the field because he believes right now what I see is one-on-one matchup. And every coordinator will tell you, if you got a one-on-one matchup out there with a guy that you feel has the ability to go get the ball, then that's where you go, regardless of what they're doing anywhere else, because you knew they were going to double D-Hop. But you're right. Kyle Phillips was open, but I think like a rookie quarterback, he had already made up his mind where he was going. I'm not going to fault him for that. The play didn't work out the way they wanted it to work out, and you kind of move on from there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the reason why I explained it like that is I wanted to make it clear that I didn't believe the play call was bad on that 4th down. Mm-hmm. You're right. You have that alert that you don't see the safety over top. You got Burks 1-on-1, and he's already shown, Levis that is, he's already shown that he's going to bomb it out, and he's done that to Burks specifically multiple times. So it was there. It's just one of those things where I wonder, how you go about coaching that up. Like, do you tell him to dial it back? You know what I mean? And it's hard not to because he's been successful on that. So it's a tough balance that I would hate to have as a position coach.
Yeah, you don't want to ever scare him away from making that throw again.
Exactly.
But it is hard to how do you tell a young quarterback, hey, we only need 4 yards. So take what the defense gives you as opposed to seeing that guy one-on-one. Because under any other circumstances, that's where you're going. Now, let's get back to the defense, TD. And, we talked about this earlier on in the show. I don't think it's so much of the front seven, because when you see situations like, Pittsburgh rushing for over 130 yards or what Indianapolis was able to do in their run game, Baltimore, I'm specifically now just looking at what I saw in the Pittsburgh game. I don't think they out-physicaled that front seven. I think they out-techniqued them. And that's far different from just pushing those guys around because I'm not going to sit here after watching the film and say, yeah, Big Jeff got pushed around. He didn't. How can you push a guy like that around? Big Tierra Trout, he got pushed around. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 plays, and maybe he was going that way, and they just pushed him further along. But what I saw from the Pittsburgh Steelers is that their technique is what won them those matchups and not necessarily, we just push this team around.
Yeah, and it's something that is surprising because Terrell Williams is such a sound coach up front, so it is surprising. And that's exactly, you talk about technique, right? Setting the edge, that's a part of run defense. And it didn't happen on that one play, and it was like a 20-something yard game for Jaylen Warren. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's basically what happened. You look at these guys, like you said, you're not going to see Simmons get pushed around and moved or anything like that. Azeez Al-Shire had a pretty good game, so I'm not going to put it on the linebackers all the way either. They just got to get better. And that late drive, that scoring one, giving up that long run, and then also like can't hide the 30-yard or so gain that Deontay Johnson had to put them in a better position.
Now, TD, why do you think Vrabel hasn't named a starting quarterback? Why do you think he's going to wait? Do you think it has more to do with just the respect for Ryan Tannehill? Or do you think there's really discussion within that building about, well, maybe let's go back to Ryan Tannehill?
I think there's a mixture of three things. The two things you mentioned, and then also you add in just the strategy side of things. We know that Mike Vrabel does not like to reveal much, so I would imagine, well, hopefully, he names a starter tomorrow, but I would imagine nothing really becomes concrete until later in the week. And that's something that I think is going to be the case. And it's just interesting, and I want to ask him about it, but I'm a little hesitant, too, because he never likes to address questions dealing with his playing days. But I'm just really curious because he's been there and done that, right? He was there in New England when Drew Bledsoe got hurt and Tom Brady came in. And I'm just curious if he's weighing on not his decision, but just drawing a little bit of judgment just from that situation back then, that experience that he went through.
Makes sense.
Teron Davenport is with us. Teron, we now get the news on Nicholas Petit-Frere, and unfortunately it looks like this is spinning away towards sort of a lost season for him for all these different reasons. But now it really leaves you in a bind from where you go offensive line-wise. What do you think is the best strategy that they could try given the circumstances? It's hard because we don't have all the information because all these guys are nicked up. But, man, this looks bleak.
Yeah, well, the one guy that is healthy is Dylan Radins. So I will put him at left tackle. It's just the Andre Dillard experience is just something that I don't care who's back there at quarterback, I wouldn't want to be put involved with, right? So you got that Dillard at left tackle. Hubbard, it's been a good amount of time now, for that concussion. I would see if that's something that he could come back from, and if he can, then you put him out at right tackle. That's the way I would do it.
So that hopefully could stabilize where they're going from here. So where do you see Petit-Frere going forward? It's not like his contract's up, but man, that's it's just a bummer in the whole big picture. You were hoping you had a piece there. Can you see him? Do we have any sense of whether he could be available before the year's over?
No, with that shoulder surgery, I don't think he's going to be back. Because you have the surgery, then you got to rehab, then you got to regain the strength, and it's just a whole lot. And I don't know the extent, rotator cuff, what it is. And the thing is, though, just a surgery on your shoulder, that's not something I would imagine that he would come back from.
What are your thoughts on what we saw from around the division yesterday? Obviously, the Jags didn't play, but that performance by C.J. Stroud was eye-opening. And, of course, he did it against the next opponent for the Titans. But it has to be noteworthy to Rand Carthon and all the plans of the big picture that the Texans and even the Colts, their plans, they look like they're further ahead than most people thought they would be at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the Texans, and it's not really eye-opening to me because, Stroud, he's played outstanding football all year. for the most part. Yeah, he had a clunker last week against the Panthers, but, I mean, this guy is, 40-something seconds left, took over on his own 25-yard line and just executed that 2-minute drill just to perfection. And that's something that you just kind of expect from him because this is what he did in college. And he's just a continuation. As far as the Colts are concerned, I think the big thing that you have to look at, that offense didn't, Gardner Minshew and the crew, like, they didn't play outstanding football. Remember, they got 2 pick sixes, right? And so, that's 14 points on the board that you got from intercepting Bryce Young. So I think defensively, this Colts team is outstanding, and that's just something that has been something they can hang their hats on over the last few years, right? So it's nothing new there. But, those 2 teams, I mean, they got big wins, and they got them in 2 different ways.
All right, TD, I got to know, in an emergency situation, could you kick a 29-yard field goal in a big situation?
No, I'm not doing that, man. Dario Gumbawale, listen, he gets my props. I got to talk to him yesterday on ESPN Radio about that.
Did you
man.
really?
Yeah,
oh my
it
God.
was. We were able to score an interview there. I did a show with Brandon Jacobs, and we got him. And he said that he got to work on that, a little bit during practice, but it had been established that he was the emergency kicker. He said, but I'm not the backup. I want to make it clear I am the emergency, not the backup.
Man, I would love to have an emergency kicker like that, man. That was poised. That was ice water in the veins. That was a big kick.
And
that
the
wasn't
timing.
just like messing around at the end of the game. Hey, let's let this guy kick one. That was game on the line.
Yeah, it made it 33-30 in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
I said there is nothing more of a Vrabel guy than your running back that can kick field goals. Your special teams contributions. TD, Teron Davenport is with us. TD, scary scene for Treylon Burks on Thursday night. And I know that some of these injuries that he sustained over the past couple of years are out of his control. You get hit, a dirty hit in Philadelphia that sits you out with a concussion. Not your fault, but you still aren't available. Again on Thursday night against the Steelers. That we just haven't seen enough consistency, whether it's on the field or ability to stay on the field from Treylon Burks. What do you think comes next for him and really in this wide receiver room as a whole for the Titans?
Yeah, it's tough, man. To see him be unconscious the way he was on the turf, and to know that that's less than a year after it happened another time, it really makes you think things out. And it was really good just to see him walk out of the locker room afterward and, to hear Mike Vrabel say that he in contact with them, texting, and was on his way to the building on Monday. That's a positive thing. But we know these concussions, man, they're not something to play with. So I don't know that he plays against the Bucs, and it's just a series of misfortune that this young man has encountered. You still got to keep trying him out there as much as you can. So I think that's his future, and obviously when he's healthy, if they could find a way to get him to be consistent, then they could kind of cash in on that investment that they did. But I tell you, man, you watch college football, and you look at Texas, man. They got a guy, Xavier Worthy, man. He's
so good.
a return punch, and he's a vertical stretch. You got that, and then you got Leggett from from South Carolina. Just a big, sturdy. I mean, this guy's listed like 6'3", 227, and you just see him bouncing off of tackles. Then he gets vertical also. I mean, there's some options there, and I think you're going to have to at some point fill in with that true vertical guy. And if you could get him to double as a returner, Xavier Worthy is a guy that I would definitely go for.
And last one for me, TD, there was a report in the Boston Globe from Ben Volen that said that Vrabel would be Robert Kraft's home run hire if and when they move on from Bill Belichick. And, of course, that is a decision that lies solely in the hands of Amy Adams Strunk, what she wants to do with the future of this organization. Is it worth it? Is Vrabel the guy? But in your opinion, how important is consistency of coaching staffs for the development of a young quarterback?
Well, let me say this, a Corvette Stingray would be my home run vehicle if and when I move on to my Camaro. So, that's something I would love to make happen. And just saying that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I do think we got to get that out of the way. But you're right. A consistent coaching staff is very important. The thing that I wonder, though, is, okay, if they continue to lose and not have the ability to stack wins, like lose one, win one, lose one, I wonder if the message starts to get stale, right? Because it's hard to go out there and lose and have that frustration over and over again. So I wonder that, but I think it would be crazy for them to part ways with Mike Vrabel, unless it's for it. And you're talking about a couple first-round picks. You definitely have to consider it, but I think the value of consistency, just a complete message. And I remember talking to people when I first got here, they raved about the positivity and just the different feel, the excitement within the building that Mike Vrabel brought. So I think that's hard to replace.
TD, you are the very best. Appreciate you for stopping by. We'll chat next week.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
Thanks, TD. And in reference to that Boston Globe report, that's the thing. You got to weigh, and it's not an easy decision of what's the value of what we would get in return versus the value that this coach brings to our organization and the consistency that he brings to the organization. But TD brings up a fair point. Sometimes you just need a fresh face. Sometimes the voice and the message just get stale. That's the decision that Amy Adams Strunk could be faced with. Could be. All right, we'll continue to get back into your Titans thoughts, but coming up next, want to fit in a quick Pred stop because we had a hat trick over the weekend. Want to get Willy's thoughts on that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Coming on in Forsberg, he scores! Maxers dispatching from Terry Crisp's beloved Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Stop 4 of 5 on the Predators' season-long 5-game road trip. Tuesday night, the Predators will play the Flames at 8 o'clock. Hal Gill and I will call the game with coverage starting at 7.
Your home for Smashville is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, what's going on? I know you've heard me talk about Zen Sports, so much here. But check this out. The new Zen Sports betting app exclusively in Tennessee the last few months. But listen, I'm excited to share with you some more good news. I've told you for weeks on, weeks out about Zen Sports and everything they do. But here's some more good news for you. Now, you can sign up for Zen Sports account. You will receive up to $1,000 no danger first wager. That's right. When you place your first bet with Zen Sports, you can be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $1,000 maximum if the bet loses now. And there's even more good news here. Zen Sports is rolling out its brand new VIP reward program, people. This new VIP reward program will allow top-tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. No other sportsbook will offer you a premier betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support and faster withdrawals like Zen Sports. So, what are you waiting for? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
When the festive bells ring and everyone gathers round, make sure your home's ready for it. From flickering lights to chilly nights to busted pipes, Lee Company is here to help. Heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, or any fix-up you need, we've got the experts ready. Head over to leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com. Remember, Lee Company, all you need so you can enjoy the holidays worry-free. Black Tap Craft Burgers and Beer is now open in downtown Nashville. Black Tap features award-winning craft burgers, wings, salads, and Instagram-famous Crazy Shake milkshakes with over 2 million sold worldwide. Since opening Black Tap Nashville, they've won the Nashville Scene Best of Nashville Readers Poll for Best Burger, Best New Bar, and Best New Restaurant, as well as Burger Week's Best Original Burger for their signature Tennessee burger. Go check out Black Tap, located downtown just off Broadway across from the Batman Building, and enjoy their culinary excellence of burgers, crazy shakes, and craft beer.
Join former Tennessee Titans players Brad Hopkins, Neil O'Donnell, Dexter McCluster, and Al Smith on October 21st from 1 to 5 for the Kurdish Festival and Sports Tournament, hosted by the Salahuddin Center and NFL Alumni Tennessee. This event will be held at the Hivy Center, located at 3124 Old Franklin Road in Antioch. Activities include food, sports tournaments, a bouncy house, and updated COVID and flu vaccines available. Head to nflgearup.org/Tennessee for more information.
Need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20, $50, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Willy here. Listen up. You've got a ton of equity in your home, and Loan Pronto can help turn that equity into cash to put it to use. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards or pay off personal loans. Start the home improvement project you've been looking for. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. Call right now, 615-499-5780. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards. 615-499-5780 or go online at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Yo, check this out.
Ah, Pourvu. Imagine a wonderland, vast as the eye can see. We're talking a whopping 10,000 square feet, stocked with wine, spirits, and over 1,500 beers from around the globe. And if that's not enough, they've got you covered with a massive horde of ready-to-guzzle cocktails like High Noon.
Well, saddle up, partner. It's Pourvu, the adult equivalent of a candy store. Open from 9 to 9 Monday through Saturday and from 10 to 6 on Sundays, too. Not leaving your sofa during the next big game? No worries, my jersey-wearing couch potato. You can place your orders at pourvu.us or download their super snazzy app.
Just picture hockey night. He shoots, he scores, we toast.
We're talking about a good old round of tequila shots, of course.
Tequila!
Pourvu has it all. Tequila is always a big hit, just like Uncle Frank at the family parties.
Wine, spirits, beers, mixers, barware, gifts, party supplies, and more.
Curbside pickup at absolutely zero charge, mind you, and home delivery.
Indian Lake Boulevard in Hendersonville, just off Vietnam Vets, exit 7.
Pourvu. It's all Frenchy and fancy, meaning for you.
Score!
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Blocker saved by Campbell. One-timer Carrier tipped wide by Nyquist. It
Go
comes
in.
back in front. Campbell covers it up. Puck's still alive on the near left side.
It did everything but go in.
Puck was never frozen. In the front, O'Reilly for the hat trick. Ryan O'Reilly with the hat trick. 5-2 Preds. 11:26 left in the third.
Was that C-May saying, go in, go in?
I think that was Hal.
Oh, that was Hal.
Expert analysis from Hal there.
Oh, my goodness.
Go in. But the Predators finally kind of get the proverbial monkey off their back, taking down the Edmonton Oilers in regulation 5-2 over the weekend. And you heard it there, a hat trick from Ryan O'Reilly. And I'll go back to over the spring when Barry Trotz made those moves, bringing in Luke Schenn, Ryan O'Reilly, the quote-unquote serial winners. And there were so many Predators fans that were so upset and angry and confused at those acquisitions. Because they said, you're moving on from old guys just to pick up more old guys. Like, what are we doing here? We always reminded those fans, hey, it's acquisitions that you're making for culture, whether you get, some production from them, here and there, but it's really just about the young guys. Well, Ryan O'Reilly is giving you the culture aspect of it all, the locker room aspect of it all, and he has been as advertised as a Nashville Predator so far through, a handful of games.
He's been everything they hoped he would be and more. It's unbelievable. Like, I remember that press conference the day after free agency started, when Barry Trotz went through all of the players that he picked up, including Luke Schenn and Gus Nyquist. but he went down point by point. What makes Ryan O'Reilly a leader and a person he wanted on the team? And it's one thing to say that, but then to see it and it's only been 11 games, right? They're just getting started. Got a long way to go.
Right.
But every single thing that they hoped he would be, he's showing you every night. And what a great game he played to sort of set the tone and get a big win. Because, I don't want to say morale was low, but I think there was some frustration in the first two games of the road trip because they felt like they had played pretty well in some areas, and the score wasn't really translating to how they thought they were playing. But when you don't get results, it's easy to lose some confidence. And, I think guys like O'Reilly, we had Ryan McDonough on our show, and you could tell what he was trying to do, right? Kind of look at the process. Let's not look at the results right now. Stay with the process, and the results will come. Well, they finally got the results, and it came against a team where, they've had no success to speak of. They did beat them once last year, right, in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, a lot of the guys that have been on this team for a while, they have had some nightmares against the Oilers. So to get it done like that, even though the Oilers are struggling, that's a big story throughout the league right now. I don't know what's wrong with that team, but that's a big, big deal that they're 2-7-1.
A team that
but
has no
they
business
can't worry about
struggling.
that, right? I think, right. But so I think they feel pretty good. So I'm really curious now to see where they go from here because there's a lot of parity in the league. There's a bunch of teams that are right, with above or below 500 when you throw the overtime losses in there. So there's an enormous pack of teams, especially in the Western Conference. And so how long can they stay in it, and what direction are they going with some of these young guys?
Now, because we talked about Yossi a couple of weeks ago, and him just trying to get used to sort of playing this new way. But it seems like the last 5 games, he sort of seemed to settle. He's settling in to this role. 2 goals, 3 assists, I think 5 points in the last 5 games. Do you see it getting better for him moving forward?
I do. I think he's getting more comfortable in the system, and I would put Forsberg in that category as well. Forsberg had a big game alongside of O'Reilly. They each had 4 points. Forsberg had a huge goal because the Oilers scored the first goal of the game, and it was on a power play, and you're sitting there going, oh, boy, here we go again. The Oilers power play, start up the band. The crowd's getting excited. And Forsberg came right back and scored a goal, which was huge for him because we've been talking about his situation. He and Roman Josi getting a lot of shots, but the puck hasn't gone in for whatever reason. But Forsberg, to get that goal, sort of set the tone to put the Predators back in the right spot there. And so I think I think Forsberg's really enjoying playing with O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly is sort of bringing out the best in Philip Forsberg. And I think having an engaged and excited Philip Forsberg is a big thing. And, again, not to make it too much about, who Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist replaced, but I do think Philip Forsberg could sort of be pulled into a negative flow at times when things weren't going well with, last year, for example, right? And he would rise and fall with the group. And so I'm hoping that, the pull of a Ryan O'Reilly is going to mean big things. So Forsberg now is over a point per game. He's only got 2 goals, but he's got 12 points. So that's a good sign. And now I think you're seeing Josi get a little bit more used to how he's going to be used in this system. For example, he's in a different spot on the power play. I think he's now learning what he can do in that spot. So I think the points are going to come from them. So any equation where the Predators are right in the playoff race over the long term would include, good productive seasons from Josi and Forsberg. And so there's some good signs that's happening after a bit of a slow start for both of them.
I think it has to, and I think that was kind of the conversation that we were having at least preseason and then throughout the season so far is you need your core players, your veterans, to pick up a majority of the work and have those young guys supplement it. And then at some point in the season, you would love to see the young guys develop and get to a point where they can start to take a little bit off of the plates of the veterans. But Willie, you mentioned, you got the results, and you got that against Edmonton, and it was a big win. And it feels like a little bit of an actual victory, yes, and also a moral victory, even more. Just finally knocking them off in regulation, something that this team hasn't done. Did I hear correctly? In 5 years? Haven't beaten Edmonton in regulation in 5 years?
Yeah, it's a little deceiving because there was a year that they didn't play. Because
That's
remember
true,
the one
in 2020.
year. So it's more. I guess it's the better part of 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
So Edmonton was 10-0-2 against the Predators in the last 12 meetings. So that does date back, I think. It probably is. I haven't done the math, but and Leon Draisaitl had scored the most goals against the Predators of any player against any team over that period of time. And that's considering they didn't play each other for a whole year. Mm-hmm. That's saying something. That's crazy.
It is crazy
to think about. And they held him off the scoreboard, which was huge. No points for Draisaitl on Saturday. Only 1 assist for McDavid. And a lot had to do with O'Reilly. O'Reilly beat McDavid in the faceoff circle a bunch, and they were going head-to-head a lot. So they did a really good job on the defensive side of things, all things considered. It's hard to contain those guys, as we know, and they did. But I think the Predators feel like their record should be better than it is. They're 5-6, and you're thinking, well, that's not that great. But I feel like looking forward with the process, I think they think that if they get the good goaltending, which is the major issue with the Oilers, right? The Oilers, even if they get it cranking offensively, they got major questions in goal. The Predators don't have those questions. And I think they feel like their goaltenders are going to keep them in games. And if they can keep going with the process, they feel like they can do better than 5-6. They've also played, I think, a pretty difficult schedule, all things considered, in these first 11 games. So there's signs, but it's going to come back to the thing that we all knew was going to be the case. Where will this young group of players take them? Can they keep growing? They're going to have some ups and downs, but in the big picture, are they moving in the right direction collectively?
And that's kind of my big question is, you mentioned the results, and you need the results. But now it's the consistency. Because it's still early, and that's one thing we talked about with Elliot Friedman of it's still early, but also when does it become not early? You get 7 games until Thanksgiving, and it is not the end-all, be-all of if you are out of a playoff spot by Thanksgiving that you won't make the playoffs. You're only a third of the way through the season. But the stats show if you are in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, you got a pretty good chance of being there in the spring. And look, the expectation going into this season was not playoffs or bust. It was get in, great, and see what you can do and what great playoff experience this will be for the young guys. So it's not the end-all, be-all, but you'd like to see them get into the playoffs. So the consistency is really the key for me here because you win a couple, you lose a couple, you win one, you lose a couple, you win a couple, you lose one. Got to start finding some consistency here, especially within the next 7 games until Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you want to be hanging around. The big thing about that Thanksgiving stat, in my mind, it's one thing if you're 1 point out or 2 points out.
Right.
It's not like you say, well, you're not in the playoffs at Thanksgiving. That's it. But if you bury yourself and you have a lot of ground to make up, especially where the Predators are, it's hard to see them going on that kind of run. But if they can, put some consistent hockey together and hang around, I think the way it's shaping up, there are a lot of teams that are going to be hovering around the same area. Not great, not bad. They're going to have to get the most out of what they do have, right? They're not a ton of powerhouses. We know Vegas is a powerhouse. We think that the Avalanche are still some form of a powerhouse, even though they look a little different. Their depth is not quite the same as it was. But after that, it's pretty wide open. There's going to be 2 or 3 spots in the playoff race. I think the third place spot in the Central, which is an automatic bid to the playoffs, that looks like it's going to be maybe wide open, like we thought. And the 2 wild cards, I think, are probably going to be pretty wide open when it comes down to it. So could you be in that mix? I think that's the best case scenario. So you're right. The next 7 games is the next sort of stage. They got some home games coming up after these next 2 road games. They want to finish this road trip strong against 2 of those middling teams, right? The Flames and the Jets are 2 teams ultimately that you're probably going to measure yourself up against in the big picture. So how do they stack up?
Speaking of the Predators, tomorrow it is your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the Preds game tomorrow night, then you will win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate with Robbie and Rexroad tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. List your home with TJ to get your home seen, heard, and sold. We'll wrap it up with your phones coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Whether it's college football,
Players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia.
or the NFL,
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We all know how stressful moving can be, but it doesn't have to be. Caroline Fenton here from my friends over at Black Tie Moving, and their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. Take my word for it, because I moved with Black Tie Moving just a few months ago over the summer, and it was the easiest moving process that I have ever gone through. From the very beginning, when I had a phone call with a local professional moving consultant, they gave me a free estimate and laid out exactly what I could expect from my moving day. And that's exactly what I got. What I got was a couple of movers that had the utmost respect for my belongings and the spaces that I was moving in and out of. They could not have taken better care of me and the entire process, so I cannot recommend Black Tie Moving enough. Give them a call at 615-437-8401. That's 615-437-8401, or you can visit them at blacktiemoving.com. Be sure to mention the promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, to score 10% off of your next move, and then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life with Black Tie Moving.
SEC basketball lives right here in Nashville, and you don't want to miss out as the Vanderbilt Commodores tip off the season. With a variety of budget-friendly ticket options, you can be there for all of the Memorial Magic. Led by SEC Coach of the Year Jerry Stackhouse, the men's team hosts home games against Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and a whole lot more. And Coach Shea Ralph and the women's squad will take the court against the likes of LSU, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. For tickets or more information, go to VUCommodores.com or call 877-44-VANDY.
Genesis Diamond's biggest and last sale of the year is coming November 17th through 19th. It's an extraordinary event with savings of 20, 30, up to 35% store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets. Nothing's held back for this once-a-year, 3-day store-wide sale. Acclaimed designers will be flying in with expanded collections and special pricing. Plus, get 0% interest financing. Luxury pre-owned Rolexes are also included. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Discounts up to 35%. Genesis Diamonds, November 17th through 19th only. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Get ready for a magical holiday experience at Belle Meade Historic Site and Winery. Join us for our free holiday open house Thursday, November 16th from 5 till 8 p.m. Meet Santa and Mrs. Claus, tour our enchanting mansion, and delight in holiday crafts and activities for the whole family. Treat yourself with our renowned wines and bourbon from Belle Meade Winery and savor foods from the Belle Meade Meat and 3. Let's create cherished memories that will last a lifetime at Belle Meade Historic Site and Winery. Only 7 miles from downtown Nashville. Reserve online at visitbelmeade.com.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
ABC Wednesday.
It's country music's biggest night.
The CMA Awards, live. With performances by Luke Bryan, Lainey Wilson, Jelly Roll, and K. Michelle. Old Dominion with Megan Maroney. Carly Pierce featuring Chris Stapleton. Tanya Tucker with Little Big Town. And more.
The best in country music!
Luke Bryan and Peyton Manning host
The CMA Awards live.
Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC. And stream next day on Hulu.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Keeping it local.
The Titans get a big win. Well, Derrick Henry's on the field. It's like, all right, what's going to happen?
And fun.
Bad time to get Florida. They're going to be mad. Oh, my goodness.
Every day, it's Chase McCabe.
I was sitting here going, I think I'm going to watch Batman 1989 tonight.
And Big Joe Dubin.
That's your plan for tonight? Probably, yeah. I need a night.
The Chase and Big Joe Show. Brought to you by Regal Realty Group. Weekdays at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. This week's Nashville's best deal is West Coast Taco Shop. Try some of the best California-style Mexican food at West Coast Taco Shop on Murfreesboro Pike in Nashville. Their burritos, nachos, quesadillas, and variety of tacos are delicious. So go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get half off of a $20 gift card while supplies last. The people have some thoughts, so unless we have thoughts,
let's go.
Let's hear from the people.
let's get to the phones. Phone lines driven up by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to get in on the action. Kevin is on the line with a thought on the Predators. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to get your guys' opinion. Who do you think's going to round out the top line? Are they going to continue to give Nyquist that opportunity, or do you think Parsonen is going to come back and be better on that top line? If we had a third person really turning on that top line, that would be awesome. Just wanted to get your opinion on that, and I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thanks for your call, Kevin.
I think that's a really good question that Kevin is asking, because in my mind, in a perfect world, Forsberg and O'Reilly would have somebody like Parsonen or Tomasino, one of the young guys rounding out that line would be ideal. And then you could use Nyquist as a guy who could support a lower line. Is Gus Nyquist a first-line player? No, he's not. He's on the first line right now because it's giving them a really good veteran presence, and the three of those guys are playing really well. But that's not the ideal role for Nyquist. Just like down the road, next year and the year after, I don't think you want Ryan O'Reilly to be your number one center at that stage of his career. Hopefully he can kind of mature into a Mike Fisher type of second line or third line center on a really loaded team. That's the big picture plan that you hope that you can get to. So I'm kind of leaning. I would love to see Parsonen, especially when Cody Glass comes back. That's part of the answer to the question is Cody Glass close to coming back? I think that he might be. There's 2 more games on this road trip. I would hope at the very least when they get back home, he'll be very close to coming back, if not before that. His hometown is Winnipeg, so keep that in mind. He's probably very motivated to get back up to Winnipeg to play. So we'll see. But I would love to see Parsonen go up and grab that top line spot back. To me, that gives you the best balance.
It's a great opportunity. Tom in Nashville.
Yeah, but he's Parson's a great example of the ups and downs, right? Parson started fast, then hit a skid, went into a slump. His last couple of games have looked better, and I think he's coming out of that little first mini slump where they had to really have some discussion with him, saying, "Look, to make it happen in this league, it's got to be every night, and you got to do these things." So hopefully there's some lessons to be learned and you come out of it stronger.
And look, if you didn't expect some inconsistencies from this young team, then maybe your expectations were a little bit too high. I think inconsistency is the byproduct of having young and inexperienced players kind of trying to find their role. Now, the key here is which of these young guys can separate themselves and find that consistency and help this team win games now that we're getting to a point where where the standings do matter. It's still early. I understand that. You're only 11 games in. But it starts to get late fast in the National Hockey League.
Yep. And, I think a lot of people would have said, wow, Tomasino's been scratched for 5 games. He's only got 1 point. What's going on with him? But I think this is part of the peaks and valleys of, the growth of a player. And hopefully he'll come around, right? That's another guy that they're hoping is a big part of the future. Fagemo and Foudy, 2 guys they took waiver wire shots on, 2 guys that were pretty high prospects at one point. What do they have there? Right now, it's a mixed bag of what you're getting there. But hopefully, through all of these guys, you get somebody to emerge and go grab those spots.
Tom in Nashville texts in, says, never heard any uprising of signing a winner like Ryan O'Reilly. Any true hockey fan knows he's a pro's pro. You guys back me up here. There was some pushback when those signings were made.
Oh, yeah, and I think the pushback was this. Look, they basically paid money, big money, and it's really going to hit more next year. And fortunately for the Predators, this is part of the plan. The cap is going to go up next year, so you could shoulder it more. But they paid big money for Duchesne and Johansson to go away. They're paying big money, and they got nothing back, right? So a lot of people were saying, okay, youth movement. And then they signed a couple of veterans like Nyquist and O'Reilly. And I think that's where people were a little confused, right, on the surface.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think people were confused about the direction. But he goes on to say that Luke Schenn was a bad signing. Are you willing to say that yet, Willie?
He's only played 1 game. So how do we know he's a bad signing? How do we know? The guy got hurt in the second practice after the game. So I don't know. We'll see if Schenn can find his way back in. I think they know that Schenn has a value in a locker room that's similar to Nyquist, similar to O'Reilly. That's the idea. He's going to have to find his way because, this is one of those things that it's hard to predict. Like Dante Fabro was starting the season not knowing exactly where he fit. But now, after that injury, he's come in. He's played pretty well. He's fighting for a contract. He's fighting for the rest of his career, whether it's in Nashville or somewhere else. Same thing with Carrier, who I think has played pretty well. But that's something to watch for. And you've got a Tyson Barrie, who is in the last year of his contract. So there's a lot to shake out, I would say, with Schenn. And so we're just getting started on this marathon, right? It's a long season. You played 11 out of 82 games. So there's a lot of chapters that need to be written.
Another texter texts in, says the Preds defense is stacked. So do you see any moves? With Schenn coming back, what do you think happens? We asked Elliot Friedman this, and he said he hadn't been hearing about any grumblings of potential moves coming down the pipe.
Yeah, they have good depth, and that's where Mark Delgado was a good story, right? Because he beat out some guys that we saw play last year, like Kevin Gravel and Jake Livingstone at the end of the season, and Spencer Stastny, who looked good at the end of last season. So that's another guy that looks like he's at least NHL quality. We'll see where his career goes. But he did a nice job filling in for Ryan McDonough on Saturday. So, yes, they have depth there. The one that I think is going to be an interesting one to watch because his contract's up at the end of the year is Tyson Barrie. He's also a guy that has really good leadership qualities. He's got a great personality, really fun sense of humor, has good skill, has a lot to offer. I can also see a contending team saying, boy, we'd love to have Tyson Barrie as a rental. And these are options that you'll be looking at in the coming days. But I think it's a good question to look at is if they can get everybody healthy, where does a Schenn fit in? He's still weeks away from coming back, though. Keep that in mind. He's still a ways.
That's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stillman and Company. What's up next?
Be love and love on your people. Peace.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe